Hello everybody, I'm Michele Cappellini, CIO of MailApp Group. Today I will give you a brief introduction of MailApp Group, and I will be speaking about what our business unit doing. Then I leave the floor to Matteo, senior front-end developer of B. These are three characteristics that describe MailApp Group. Innovation, we develop software as a service in marketing technology. We grow up by organic and M&A strategy. Global, our customers are worldwide. Today, our revenues is around 30 million. And this is our story. We were born in Cremona in 2004. We grew up to become a leader in Italy. We have been listed in AIM market since 2014. Then we continue to grow by organic and M&A strategy. So, today we are a group formed by several companies with their own product integrated with each other. Our organization can rely on a holding parent company where we share services and costs, such as IT department. Through this structure, we create and develop our platform. In this slide, you can also find our market. For example, freemium tools, SMS services, email editor, and data-driven platform. For those who don't know us, MailApp is a complete email and SMS delivery solution that combines advanced email marketing features with SMTP, relay, and plugin for CRM and e-commerce systems. We send over 20 million messages a year, and MailApp offices are located in Cremona and Milano. Based in Italy, in Carpi, Agile Telecom is a wholesale SMS factory that offers SMS delivery for both promotional and transactional messages. Its code is written in Python and use C++ for Android application. Acumba Mail is our Spanish-based email marketing provider. 7 employees, but 2,500 customers. The platform is written in Python with MySQL technology for the database. Globase is another of our platform to deliver advanced digital marketing automation software for business and professional consulting services. It operates in the European Nordic countries. Born from a MailApp spin-off, B, based in Silicon Valley, focuses on development of the innovation email editing tools. Matteo works here, and he will soon talk about this then. The last company entering in MailApp Group this year is Datatrix. It collects data from any kind of source in order to combine traditional, manually managed campaign workflows with automated artificial intelligence driven. On any channel such as email, SMS, advertising, social network. The main technologies used in Datatrix are Node.js and PHP. These are some of our customers divided by category. As you can see, we cover all markets. Technology, culture, finance, and other examples. Okay, I finished my brief introduction. Now I leave you in the hands of Matteo, who will tell you about B project. Thank you. See you.
So, hi everyone. My name is Matias Toccata, and I'm a proud member of the B team inside of the MailApp Group, as Michele just said, and I thank him for his introduction. Today I will be telling you about our story, the story of our platform, and by doing that I want to share with you a few advices that we have learned during the way that might be very useful to you in terms of scaling. So let's get started. Let's put some context first. It is the year 2013 and the world was kind of different back then. And the platform that we were born from, MailApp, was a little different from nowadays. As you can see, the screenshot you see here is from the content editor of the time, and its functionality and its user interface mimics the ones from the word processors of the time. So it was time for something new. And the B project began, version 1. Let's see who did it. We had an internal team composed of a single developer, which handled front-end and back-end code. By the way, he's here in the front row, with a supervisor. We had a web developer that developed the UI and the CSS. And we hired an external team from abroad. Fun fact, it was from Transylvania. So, which technology have we used? Remember again, it was 2013, so the internet world was different than today. And so we went with the best that we had at the time. It was jQuery. By the way, this is the homepage from 2013, and it's very similar to the one they have nowadays. So, let's see how the first version of B was built. As I said, it was jQuery on the front end and C# on the back end, and it was a monolithic architecture. This means that it was all in a single project, and you have to republish it completely, even for the slightest change that you had to make on the platform. And since all the logic was packed in a single JS file, which had more than 20K number of lines, those changes were frequent. It worked directly on the HTML, so you worked on the message and then you saved it. And it was published beside MailApp as an IIS application. And since we had physical access to the machine it was installed in. The project was launched in 2013. That's the first version of B. Okay. And the users liked it. MailApp users liked it. And they liked it so much that gave us an idea. We could create a website as a different container from this editor with some goals in mind. First of all, we want to showcase it, since the users seem to appreciate it. Second, we want to create awareness around it. And of course, create a few business and drive new customers to the MailApp platform. And the B3IO website, the first version, it was in beta of course, was developed and launched in 2014. So, how did it go? Spoiler alert, we had some surprises. First of all, it had very good traffic, but the number of conversion could be better. We were expecting something more. But, again, users gave us tremendous feedback on how to improve our editor. And what was this precious feedback? Of course, it is an editor, but please make it embeddable, because I have a platform and I would like to embed this editor in my platform. And this convinced us to take the plunge and decided that B should evolve from being a single project, and it had the potential and a space in the world to become a standalone product. But how? do we build it? Well, we took advantage from what we have learned in V1, and we knew that it was all about maintainability, to be able to scale. So the direction was quite clear. First, microservices. Let's put everything, split those monoliths that you've seen before in little more manageable services. Second, the cloud. Because of course, it is of course a no-brainer decision when you want to scale, because it is the most reliable and affordable web space that scales. And of course, update the front end, because jQuery had made its time maybe, and we had to move on from those single file with 20K lines of code. So what we need to develop? We want the application to run in an iframe, to make it easier for external platform to embed it and to communicate with it. We want it to be customizable, so that, for example, the embedding application can choose the colors to display the editor with. We decided and we realized that we needed a different layer than working directly from HTML. So we choose the meta language to store our messages with. And we went with JSON. So in the future, and maybe I'll talk about it later, this would allow us to have different outputs from HTML mails. As for the front end, we went with Angular 1, and back then it was 2014. It was clearly the dominant framework back then, and we thought it could last forever. We were wrong, but we will talk about this later. So let's talk about the architecture that we built with B version 2. B version 2 relies on both Windows and Linux servers. The Windows part has two main objects, an authorization server and a resource server that includes many services inside of it. The Linux part has different microservices. Unfortunately, since there are a few, I don't have the time to talk extensively about each and every one of them, but it's interesting to note that a few of them use Lambda functions. Are you familiar with Lambda functions? Okay. If there's somebody that don't know what a Lambda function is, Lambda function is basically serverless computing for executing specific tasks. You can think it of a function as a service. I heard it being called. You pay only when it runs, so you don't have to do provisioning or to maintain a server. And as the infrastructure, as many people did, we chose to go with Amazon, AWS. So let's now examine the languages, the platform, and the frameworks that we've used to build. Of course, the goal in mind was to build a scalable product. For the front-end part, of course, the main language that we use is JavaScript, with some popular frameworks and tools that helped us to get the job done. And we use, of course, CSS with a few helpers in this case too. For the backend part, we used Python with Django and Django REST framework. Again, Node.js, that although it is a JavaScript-based technology, it is more like a server framework. And C# that we inherited from version 1. That's what we already knew how to build. The who built this V2 version? Let's see how the team has changed and evolved from version 1. The internal team grew to 5 people. 2 people which handled product management, and 3 developers, full-time developers, both from the front end and the back end. And then we hired 2 contractors, 2 very talented guys that helped us with the front end, UI and UX, and we learned a lot from them. And most importantly, we went and we changed our methodology to the agile software development approach. Are you familiar with that too? Okay, but let me spend a few words about it. Main principle of agile software development are people over tools. So tools and processes are good, but it's more important to have talented people working actively and together. It is a client-driven approach in the sense that it is more important to work together with the client and discover what they really need rather than writing the perfect manual documentation and leave up to them. Have short release cycles, so you have to satisfy your customer by early and continuous delivery of software that is valuable. And of course you have to respond to change, because having a plan is important, but even most important is to be responsive, so that your plan is not too rigid and can follow the changes in the technology or the environment around you. There are a few methodologies that implement agile approach, and we used Scrum. Firstly, we did some experiments with Kanban, but then we moved to Scrum. It works better for us. And you can find a lot of documentation and information about those approaches online if you're interested. So finally, after a while, the B version 2 beta B plugin from now on went live, and it was in mid-2015. We choose to publish it alongside the V1, so the users could pick which one to use. And a lot of them actually chose the new editor, and once again gave us tremendous and useful feedback on how to improve it. Thanks to this, we went from beta to market in just 5 weeks. So, but now it's 2018, so where we're at, what's the project status right now? Let's start again with the team. The team has grown significantly over time. It is now an international team. We are 12 people, 4 in the US and 8 here in Italy. There are the same 2 people that handle product management, 4 people in the communication, marketing, and customer success, 6 developers from front-end and back-end. 3 of them are remote workers, like myself, and 1 of them is based in the US. We hired some consultants, a firm from SEO, which is here in Italy, and 1 from content marketing in the States. What else did we do? We have rebranded all of our presence, changed the logo, and changed, of course, the website that goes with it, BeFree.io, that still drives a lot of contacts for us. Another important step for us was releasing BePro. BePro, that we have launched a couple of years ago, is a platform, and it is our own implementation of our own plugin. Of course, we know better than anybody else. With this tool, we give the freelancers, teams, and agencies very powerful features and tools to manage professional email design. For instance, you can edit your message, save it into your account, export in any major ESP, email service providers, such as MailChimp or MailApp, of course, or SendGrid, and so on. We also have completed our online presence with 2 websites. The first one, of course, since our plugin has to be embedded, a documentation website, which of course is very useful for us, the developers, that wants to include B in their platform. Here, of course, we describe how to implement the editor and to provide information, for example, on how to hook on the events that are fired by the editor and on everything in between that can make you embed this product. And then we made a content marketing blog that has inspiration, workshop, and video tutorials and best practices in email design. And the design you see here is actually not yet online, and it will be in a couple of weeks or so. Well, all of these growth have been possible because of the good results that we've had. Allow me to give only a couple of significant results that we've achieved. First of all, how many platforms are embedding the plugin? At the beginning, it was just one, MailApp, you remember. Now we have more than 450 paying customers, and they're all software platforms. And besides that, we have over 2,000 free clients, in the sense that they use the free tier of our plugin that allows you to embed it and to customize it, but that does not give you the most advanced options. What about total sessions? We started with 0, of course. We were just starting, and now we have about 175,000 sessions per week. So something must be working right, and the scalable approach that we've used seemed to work. Of course, the plan is don't stop here. Continue to improve. So what now? What can be improved while we move towards version 3 of our editor? And here are a few things that we've learned from what we've done by now. And these are the areas in which we can do better, and we will do better, hopefully. First, don't be a prisoner of legacy or proprietary software. We already did a lot of work on that, but we can do better. So we want to containerize everything, since this way we won't depend on, for example, Amazon anymore. If we want to change the provider of the container execution, we can do that. Then we want to use only one OS, and we want to move all the services that you've seen before in Windows. We want to move it to Linux because it's cheaper, it's faster, and it scales better. And we want to keep splitting and optimizing microservices. For example, you've seen in the past slide that we have a resource server that has a lot of things in it, and we want to split them into separate microservices. And this, of course, allows you to, and this is very good, of course, cut costs on cloud services. And NetStark is quite worried about costs. So second, simplify and standardize the deployment for us, the developers. So we take advantage of concepts like continuous integration and aim at having easy rollback operation if something goes wrong, and minimize downtimes when you're updating your platform. So, since I am a developer at B, let me show you a little example of the very simple flow work that we are achieving. And I will show you the new parser engine deployment, since it's that I'm personally in charge of developing inside of the B team. So, in a regular day, I develop my code, I push it to one of our repositories, and then we use Jenkins for continuous integration. I hope that you know that platform because it's very cool. And we configure it so that it can perform all the deployment procedures that we need automatically, from checking out the code to build a Docker image, publish it on ECR, that is the Amazon service that executes the container. And we have three active environments: pre-production, quality assurance, and production. And we also get a cool Slack notification when it's done working. So third, we want to streamline the languages and the dependency that we use, because our goal, of course, is to narrow down the main languages to two, basically, or as close as possible to those two. First is JavaScript for front-end, and then we have Python and Node.js for the back-end. Even though who works with Node knows what I'm talking about, there are some disadvantages. For example, we have the 20,000 lines of code from the jQuery in the EV1 had become 20,000 dependencies that we have now in our Node modules. So it is kind of fun and weird. Another important area of improvement is, of course, logging. And you want it to be more granular and more comprehensive because, of course, we don't have the access to the physical machine anymore. So at any time, if anything goes wrong, we want to know what is going wrong. And of course, I've cited it before, remove legacy code and stay updated. We study a lot. So, is there a point to everything I told you? What have we learned about scaling by now? What can advise you and give something to you and your project to help it really scale? And we have 7 advices to give you. First, be updated. Invest in training, learning new languages and solutions. And don't be afraid, for example, to hire smart people as smart consultants because you can learn a lot from them as we did. But that said, be strategic. Take very seriously the make versus buy decisions. And you have to evaluate very carefully about costs and efforts and benefits. And you have to know when it is time to build something yourself and when it's time to buy it from the outside. And being good at this will help you save a lot of time and a lot of money. And I hope you didn't, but we've made a few mistakes in the past around this, and I'm sure that we learned that this can be very bad. So be brave, because sometimes it takes courage to admit that it is time to change your path. And since the world around you can change, it has changed a lot, as we've seen, you need to act. In our case, for example, and I told you this before, we thought that using Angular 1 was the right thing to do because Angular was very big back then. It still is, but as you know, Google is undergoing major changes to the Angular framework. It is now version 4, and the version 1 is almost discontinued, or they don't have so much feature as they do on the newer version. So, research and development, in our experience, can coexist. You have to be brave and continuously refactor. For example, that's why we have chosen to move from Angular to React in version 3, because now React assures us to have, it seems better, have better performance, and works better for us. Then we can ask ourselves if all this framework frenzy is actually improving the way we code. And again, our friend Ned Stark is back with an opinion, but it is something we can think about. Be responsive. Deploy small features in short development cycles. And this is very important because then you have to be open. We work closely with your users, and because since they pay for your product, they are the perfect people to tell you what they would like to see it become in the future. And this may seem obvious, but a few times in my career I have seen so many self-referenced coders just pretending that we're better than the rest of us. We are, but that's a separate story. So you have to get to know your users, and you have a lot of tools to help you in that. Feedbacks, it helps us a lot in our story. Surveys, Net Promoter Score, NPS, user experience audit, and tracking tools. There are a lot of them. For example, analytics or data tricks that the MailApp Group had acquired, and Hotjar. We use all of them. And then be solid, and I refer to solid as a team. At the B team, we support smart working and remote working, and I mentioned we have some remote workers, such as myself, for example. And to empower the team and to get to know each one a little better, we have a few habits. We have a Thank God It's Friday meeting on Google Hangout, in which we talk, all the team gathers in this meeting, and we talk both from the Italy and USA, and talk about the status of the project, if any one of us had some problems, how to improve, and this is very useful. Once a year, we plan a team retreat to spend a few days together, working on side by side, and why not have some fun together. I took this picture at this year team retreat, which was held in Gavi in Piedmont, here in Italy, and the wine was excellent, as you can imagine. And PS, we're hiring. So since as a MailApp Group we have a booth outside of here, if we're interested in our work or maybe becoming part of our team, please pay us a visit and we can have a chat. At last but not least, be humble. And allow me a little joke, because after all, and Michele had spoiled this in his speech, B stands for best editor ever, and it is kind of a challenge for us to let it be actually the best email editor ever. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. We have the contact information there.